Let's talk deer mineral. I'm John O'Brien, owner of Grandpa Outdoors. I've been a ruminant nutrition consultant since 1991. Some of my first clients included the first $1 million animal, highest producing herds in the state of Wisconsin, including some of the highest producing herds in the United States. During my career, I got involved with working with free range wild deer as well as the deer farming community, and I can honestly say I grow the biggest deer in the world. And my background, I'm bringing to you guys, giving you the basic concepts. So no matter how good a formulator I am, no matter how good a nutritionist I am, there's three diets that a deer will have. The one that I formulate, right, the intended diet or product, the one that's going to be put in front of them. That's you guys. You put mineral out there. What happens if your mineral runs out? Well, you don't have nutrition. What happens if you don't get it out early enough? What happens if it's not left out there long enough during the year, long enough time frame. Um, there's that. And then lastly, the diet that's consumed. So no matter how good of a tag I create, it's all about getting it into the deer. And so some basic concepts. Calcium, most important mineral form to have in their diet. Phosphorus, second most important. Magnesium, third most important. Generally, people will talk about potassium, hugely important. We have summer heat stresses and all that. But another element that's hugely important that's not in nearly enough deer minerals, it's in every formula I've ever formulated for any ruminant, sulfur. Sulfur converts protein. Protein is the most important thing for growing antlers and body mass when it comes to deer. So, um, you need to have those elements. And then you also need to have the zinc, manganese, copper, cobalt, boron, selenium. And in the vitamin form, there too, they are important. And again, when you're talking to free range wild deer, when you have a lot of actively growing forages out there, there's a lot of natural vitamins in there. So during those times of the year, it's not quite as important. But again, it's still good science to have it included in your formulas because you're going to be typically seeing good consumption of your deer minerals from February until we get into late August, early September, depending where your location is in the United States. So, next concept, there's oxides. So you got zinc oxide and manganese oxide, and you got copper oxide, and then you also can have iron oxide. And so then you could have the sulfate forms of sulfate, manganese sulfate, iron sulfate, and copper sulfate. And so those are more bioavailable, generally by about double than the form of oxides. And then lastly, you got your chelates, the time release trace minerals that generally come in the form of proteinates or polysaccharides. So if you look at a deer mineral, you can look at 10 different deer minerals. They could all have 2,000 parts per million zinc, right? That doesn't mean they're all equivalent and bioavailable, bioequivalent. If one is just using oxides, the next one's using sulfates, and the last one is just using all chelates, there's up to 5 times more bioavailability on a 2,000 part per million deer mineral that's got zinc polysaccharide versus zinc oxide, right? How many of you guys are confused by that? Well, probably a few of you guys. But basically, it comes down to units. So even when you're talking a deer mineral that's got 16% calcium and 4% phosphorus, which you see some of that out there, another one's got 6% phosphorus, right? That's 1.5 times more phosphorus. Another one's got 8% phosphorus. Guess what? When I'm formulating that, that's double the amount of monocal going into that product. And again, you see so many products out there that have too high amount of salt. Salt is a limiting agent. Free choice products generally run 10 to no more than 30% salt. There's reasons for that. When you have too high amount of salt, and when you get moisture, humidity from rain and whatnot, those minerals get harder and they're harder to consume. And there's also some weathering effects and some leaching and nutrient effects that can happen. And so you want to have that salt level. Ideally, I'm formulating in that 15 to 25% salt historically for most ruminants. And so that's like a something you really want to look at. And so when you start seeing some of these deer minerals with 45, 50, 60% salt, there's not room for much nutrition in there, and you're also restricting the uptake of those nutrients. So again, going back to the diet that's put in front of them, the diet that's consumed, you know, and so you can eat a hell of a lot of deer mineral that's 65% salt, but if it's only got 2-3% phosphorus and 1,000 parts per million zinc and very little selenium, what are you really getting in a diet? Deer are not generally eating deer mineral every single day. You typically, when you are getting an every day, every other day uh, uptake of deer mineral, on the average, you're probably going to be figuring about a half an ounce per head per day. Okay. And then last part of that equation right there then is if they are not getting mineral into their system every 40 hours or so, and there's a reason I say that, that's another seminar, that's where you really be needing to use some more of these time released trace minerals. The regular oxides and sulfates are consumed and broken down readily, and a certain percentage of them are flushed through the system. When you're using time release trace minerals, they end up becoming absorbed in the muscle. Almost like what you could do with the guys with the pen deer, you can give them a shot of Bosi or Musi injectables that are stored in their body and to be able to utilize when there's that demand at a point in time later. So again, very few deer minerals are using time release trace minerals. They should be because deer are not going to your licks every day, right? So again, just a few little basic concepts. I'll shoot another video with a little more advanced concepts moving forward. People are always willing to, I'm always willing to take phone calls, answer emails, messages if guys got more specific questions on this. If guys want to send me a tag and have me give you some education, comments, and evaluate that, so be it. Hopefully I help. Thanks for your time.